think. I gotta check our WeTubes. We're back. It's the Modern Relics podcast. I'm Angel and he's Lucky, and we're just chilling. Little off script today, man. It's Monday. Usually we do this Tuesday.
Not our normally day.
Yeah, but it's also like holidays, man. How are you feeling with the holidays this year? How's that going for you? Because I have some thoughts on my version of that.
Mine's actually, how you doing, by the way? Haven't talked to you in a couple weeks, but we're doing pretty good. Holidays are going to be fairly mellow for us this year as far as Turkey Day. We've got basically my mom and then a close family from church with 3 of their little ones coming over. And I think that's it. Maybe Aaron's mom, maybe, but depends on if she's being pulled in other directions with other kids and grandkids and such.
Yeah.
But as far as Turkey Day itself, it should be fairly mellow. Normally I have a tendency, and it's become a family joke, that I have a tendency to happenstance across to some random stranger, whether they be someone who came in to get a tattoo at the shop or whatever, and then I bring home a stray. I make a phone call going, make another plate or set another plate.
Right.
My wife's like, okay. And we end up maintaining relationships with these people that I end up bringing home for the holidays every year. I haven't found a stray this year. My heart might have become a little bit more closed off and cold. But
there's also still time.
There's still time, and it typically is the day before. It's like Magic Wednesday before Turkey Thursday.
Yeah.
And
Magic Wednesday. I like that.
And so it just happens. And my kids think it's hilarious. My sister rolls her eyes every year, stuff like that. But
yeah.
Like my sister, I think, is going to be in Florida again. I think they're making this a thing. Yeah, they've been going to Florida every year for Thanksgiving, like just to get away.
I mean, a deep fried turkey is maybe worth the flight if it's done well, but
they just do their own thing they get a little condo and they hang out.
Seriously, that's it. They go down there just to
get in warm weather. However, what's crazy is I think they literally didn't even unpack. They were on a European cruise over around Spain and stuff for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think they got back like 2 days ago and then are already in Florida. Like they just went bing bang boom. Just like,
I did that once. I came back from Italy and I somehow lost an entire day because you're going backwards in time, and I guess my math was just vacation math. But it was bizarre because like there's only a handful of ways to get to Rome, and the main one is Heathrow, and we didn't like that, so we chose to go through Amsterdam. So we take off in Amsterdam on the way back. We left it Tuesday at 11 o'clock. We land in Seattle Tuesday at 11 o'clock. And then I realized somehow I fucked that up, and I had 6 hours to get back to the airport to fly to Las Vegas for a convention for work. So like no sleep for 2 whole days because I don't sleep on airplanes. And it's still just one day. And I was seeing ghosts by the end of that. You got to go from like 2 weeks of vacation, the most amazing shit in the Med you've ever seen. All the architecture and these giant cathedrals and all the fun times and stuff. And then snap back into like, let's be ready to talk about work and shit. Like, I did not do very well. Slept really good that first night.
Sure. Yeah.
That's kind of funny. So they're off to Florida.
So it'll be, fairly mellow for our family.
Sure.
We're going to be all right. Outside of that, I don't think I have, I've had a weird week, but let's hear about your fun holiday plans. What are you doing?
Well, I usually get super hyped for the holidays. Like last year was the first holidays in my house. I had stockings, I had a tree, I had plans, I had all this food, and I was going to entertain some guests for, I think, 5 days. So I had all these meals planned out. I smoked a prime rib, wall-to-wall pink. It was delicious. It was amazing. Nobody came. All the flights were canceled, right? So now I have all this food. So I'm just giving it out to like neighbors and shit. Like, here, you have all this food. I can't eat this. It's going to spoil. This year, I'm headed off to Denver to do the Thanksgiving holiday. And then I'm coming back here. I'm going to do Christmas here. And I keep inviting my dad, but way back in June, right?
Yeah.
Like just to try and plant the seed, we're just throwing the line out there like, hey, it's cool. You could bring them too. Just, I have plenty of room. It'll be fine. I'll probably just be here chilling. So I'm like, I don't know. It's just been weird. I'm usually on it. Like after Halloween stops, I'm kind of like, it's time for Christmas stuff. And I just haven't got there yet. So I don't know. As far as the week, though, it's just been work and lots of it and a lot of stress there. I bid in for another position at the same company, and I'm waiting to hear back from that. I interviewed 6 times. So they don't take it easy on internal candidates, that's for sure. So it was an exhausting process, part of which entailed a flight to Seattle, which is part and parcel of the why this podcast has been a little choppy. It's a weird time of year. I had that. Yeah. We got holidays. I have another thing in January in the middle of the week I got to go up there for that's work related. It just goes and goes. But I'm actually looking forward to Christmas and New Year's both landing on Monday. That'll be nice.
Ooh.
Because no one's going to be around the office, and it's going to be like closed door plus an extra day, which would be kind of nice. So,
I'm actually one of those weird guys who actually likes it when the holiday falls on my day off.
Yeah, really.
Which is a Monday. I don't like the extra day off in the work week.
Yeah.
Because I only work a 4-day work week anyway. And if
idle
I'm
hands.
not working that day, if I'm not working that day, I also don't make money.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't get overtime. I don't get I'm not getting paid regardless of whether or not I'm there.
Right.
So
there's no chargeback model in tattooing.
No. So unless I'm tattooing, I'm not making money. So it really helps out my financial situation when, especially during the holidays, when the holidays land on my already scheduled days off where I wouldn't be working anymore.
Dude, your guys' promos are getting sharp though. I've been seeing some.
That's all Aaron.
Yeah, some Instagram posts are coming down, looking pretty fire, dude. I was pretty excited about that. I'm like, oh man, that's was really well done. So kudos to the wife, man.
She's doing really good with those. I really enjoy them. So yeah. Anyway, what were you gonna?
A friend of ours, Dan Reyes. He's gonna come down for New Year's Day. We're gonna.
Nice.
Yeah, he's coming down. I think like on the 30th or something. He's gonna be here for a few days. And as a belated Christmas gift, I got us tickets to see Gabriel Iglesias, the stand-up comic, Fluffy. Yeah. So we're gonna go do that and probably just chill here, cook, hang out, play some Magic the Gathering, do nerd shit. I'm not sure, but it's gonna be a good time.
Laugh a lot.
Yeah.
You can't have Daniel Reyes in the house and not laugh your ass off.
That's true. And he's a great guy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But
good to hear.
Yeah, I had a couple of things. I know you got some stuff to talk about this week. I did want to touch on, there was a bunch of social media rising up about kill switches in cars. Have you heard about this?
I have heard very little, but it's been floating around the internet as far as electric vehicles having kill switches or anything made past a certain year that they were thinking about doing it.
Yes.
But if that is coming more into fruition and closer to reality, I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, it's a little of both.
I bought a 78 truck for my daughter, so it didn't have a single microchip in the thing.
It basically had the floorboard dropout where you could do the Fred Flintstone for extra power if you needed to.
Yep.
So the claim is that this regime, our administration in office right now, signed a bill that will give law enforcement access to a kill switch that has to be introduced into all cars in 2026. Not 100% the way I would have interpreted that upon actually reading through it and looking. It's a Infrastructure and Investment in Jobs Act that ushers $1 trillion in to try and upgrade the roads, bridges, ports, typical infrastructure stuff. One of the provisions in said legislation aims to prevent drunk driving deaths by requiring all vehicles to soon include advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology. That's how it's written. Advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology as standardized equipment in 2026. So you got to say, okay, well, who are the experts that have been involved in creating and studying impaired driving prevention technology, and what actually does that mean? So that actually gives a license to the, what is this? The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which is an agency inside the Department of Transportation. Gives them 3 years to define what specific technologies cars need to be using. And then the automakers have 2 to 3 years to execute that. So it is kind of open-ended. A lot of the existing technologies to prevent drunk driving generally fall into 2 categories. We have driver monitoring systems that uses sensors or cameras to monitor your behavior, head or eye movement, and alcohol detection systems that use touch-based or breath-based sensors to measure your blood alcohol concentration. In either case, if a driver is found to be impaired, the car might employ a warning message, block the driver from operating the vehicle, or if the vehicle is already in motion, direct it to a safe stop or potentially an automated ride home. It's not a kill switch. However, there's no real guardrails around what license one could use for the back end of that technology. Further, and I don't know where this rabbit hole got kicked off, but it led me back to the global surveillance disclosures at the end of the Edward Snowden stuff. And if you look at how many folks were commercially involved in just willfully spurning all this or turning all this information over to Prism and the NSA and all this stuff, it includes Microsoft and Google and Apple, and there's like a ton of commercial partners for a lot of these surveillance programs and different things that have already existed for quite a while. It's, to me, the leakage of that information would then, the step 2 would be, well, now the local law enforcement agencies need to have a record of this or a database of this or a national registry of this or whatever they want to call it to get their hands on the fact that you're going to be monitored by technology inside of this infrastructure bill, which was passed bipartisanly on both sides, likely because nobody read it, which is typically how it goes. Or the lesser of the 2 evils is we really need this money to fix all the railways and shit. But it's hiding in there, and it does exist.
The 4th and 14th Amendment, by the way.
Sure. But who cares about that stuff? You know, it's just the amendments.
Unelected agency who is now implementing law through corporations and organizations. They literally do not have the right to do this, but they're going to. They're just going to.
They're going to.
And what?
To be clear, we all allowed this law to happen from lawmakers. They're just handed the keys of how that's going to be executed just because. Yeah. So, but yeah, I know what you mean.
But I mean, much like the ATF, any of these transportation agencies that are
lest we get aggregated. No. Fact check it.
That's the game where they, instead of sending it through the legal legislative body in order to implement any type of rule or change, they pass it down to these unelected agencies that seem to think that they have the ability to write and implement law. And so it gets squishy and it gets in the gray area when we're talking about car transportation, because when we start talking about First Amendment and being in the right to travel, state to state and across state borders, we have the right to do that.
That's the correlation I wanted to tie back, because we talked a little bit about this with the 15-minute cities already, and it's like this is another Lego in the building blocks.
Exactly, but with this, we have to be licensed to drive a car, right? And there's some argument on both sides of whether or not the legality of that is truly constitutional. However, because it is the common mode of transportation,
right?
Had we been in horse and buggy era, we could travel horse and buggy across any state line, across any and freedom of travel.
And I would argue,
not even questioned.
You probably need a license to operate a horse just as much as you would a car.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's something that never wasn't even implemented, ever. So, and that being said, the question of whether or not the legal authority for state to state to have any type of registration of vehicles or even register or licensing is a little questionable.
Right.
However, that's a hyper libertarian kind of concept that we can go down there for hours and hours. In this particular case, what we are really kind of focusing on is the implementation of these less than legal concepts into modern cars that are all EVs, all electric vehicles that they pushed on us for environmental purposes, even though we all know that an electric car does 10 times the amount of environmental damage than a regular gas powered car on the grand scale. So it's obviously a ruse from the get.
And who owns most of the leases on all of the mining for those rare earth minerals at the moment, or at least where the highest levels of production are?
Wouldn't that be China?
It's in China. That's absolutely right. So a battery that's created on 3 different continents using diesel fuel to ship shit back and forth, to then be prepackaged in Japan to be reshipped to the U.S. to be sold to you
under big boats with diesel engines.
Yeah, under the guise of helping save the environment. I mean, wake up. I'm cool with having that as an option, just not as a force it down your throat.
Right. And it worked. It worked to get as many people as they possibly could, and every state has got some. By 2035, we'll have no more gas-powered cars in the state of California or Oregon or, wherever. They're all popping up all over the place with their date of when that's going to happen. So now you've got nothing but electric vehicles everywhere that they can turn off whenever they feel like it, or steer you or drive you back right down to the police station because you said something naughty on the internet.
It makes me feel like one of those what was that movie, and then they did another version of it. It starred Harrison Ford and Edward James Olmos, and then the 2049 Blade Runner. That's the mode of and then the doors just lock, and you're just like a Jetson in a car off to some other spot because you're getting called in or whatever. I think they did that in a couple sci-fi movies as well, but yeah, absolutely. It leaves the door open. Is it a kill switch? No, not necessarily. You can fact check that as false, according to AP. However, there is no closed loop on that. It's just whatever is determined. And is that the biggest problem in the country that we need to be solving with the $1 trillion infrastructure bill? Is drunk driving?
It's not even in the top 20.
I would argue that drunk driving is, probably way worse for the threat to human life than all the shooting data that you get from the media. And then if you actually look it up, it's wildly different from what's actually collected by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But to save the leftist tears, I'll move on. Yeah. It is nuts to me that that's coming in 2026.
Yeah. I didn't know we had the infrastructure for that at this point.
We don't have the infrastructure for electric cars.
No, not even close. I mean, it's literally a failure upon failure scenario every single week.
Have you seen the lines for the charging stations where people are just lined up all the way around the block to get to a charging station?
Oh, yeah.
And then the whole aspect of is it I don't know the actual wattage and delivery system, but we'll say it's advertised as an 80 watt delivery system. You charge yourself up in 15 or less, up to 80%, blah, blah, blah. And then you get there and it's oh shit, this one's a 40. So your gas stop took you an hour and a half just to get up to 80% so you can continue down across the desert to get to Las Vegas from Southern California. It's silly. And then we've beat that one to death about the whole brownouts and contributing to more unnecessary overages on the grid and all that stuff. It's just hopes and dreams. That's what these things are being based off of. A lot of it is just, this sounds good. Let's just appeal to the masses on their.
I think that was the campaign slogan in 2008, was it not?
Yeah, pretty much.
Hopes and dreams.
Hopes and dreams.
And here we are, hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
We got the campaign slogan.
I don't know, man. Quickly on this last week, by the way, Formula One came to Las Vegas, and I
videos of this.
Oh boy, I've been a motorhead for as long as I could remember walking on 2 feet. I love cars, love bikes. I love them. It's my thing. The pinnacle of open wheeled racing to me is Formula One. It's awesome. It has also kind of been a European sport. There's not a lot of like the NFL type of domination for America's hearts and minds every week now. Like it is that for a large audience in Europe, right? So Netflix comes along and they create a show called Drive to Survive, and everyone falls in love with the drama of the behind the scenes stuff and the storytelling Netflix created. And everyone's an F1 fan. So there are 3 tracks you could drive F1 on in the continent of North America. There's Mexico City, there's Montreal, and there's Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas. Last year they threw in Miami as a street track, almost like let's see if anyone's excited about this. Big turnout, blah, blah, blah. Vegas lands 3 years with an optional 1-year extension. Oh my God, they're going to race down the strip. It's going to be a night race. It's going to be huge. I'm stoked. Finally, it's not nearby. It's in a town I live in. This is going to be great. Or live next to, right? And I'm stoked. I'm like, this is happening. It's coming to a town near me. This is going to be awesome. What I didn't realize is that in order to win the bid with the FIA, that all of the casinos got first crack at pre-order tickets. So I signed up for everything, like even sites that were suspect as fuck, where I'm just like, it's like, we're going to take your IP address. I'm like, here it is. Put me on the list, right? Like, I want to get a ticket to this. The casinos got all the tickets for pre-sale. They required you to get a room and this and that and the other thing as part of the sale price. And the cheapest ones were $11,000. I'm like, do you get to keep the fucking car?
Right.
11,000. Like, I could see $600, $700 for all 3 days. That's 2 free practices, qualifying and race day, maybe a small experience, a hat of, pictures with your favorite driver, and general admission, whatever. That's expensive, but I could see that happening. 11 grand. Some of these ticket prices were over $3 million for like the VIP suite package and to go rub elbows in the paddock with your own little earmuffs on next to Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and whoever else was important down there. And I was crushed. I'm like, it's going to be, 35 miles away, 45 miles away, something like that. Whatever. It's coming. I can't even go. Like, this is stupid. Because I was going to have all the friends come down. We would just rent a van and go in there. 1 car, 1 stop. We'd all come back. We'd barbecue. It was going to be amazing. Nada. So then the real pain begins last year. All the construction starts. Traffic is dog shit. Paddocks are being built. City streets are being closed or repaving stuff. Like, everyone's just like, well, this maybe was not as cool as we thought it was going to be because none of us can afford to go anyway. It's literally a dog and pony show for the elite with all the glitz and glamour of downtown Las Vegas. And this sucks. So they started, you can't block off walk traffic, like foot traffic through the strip. So they built sky bridges across parts of the track, right? Like to get people, if you had to get to a casino or away from a casino, you could walk over the race while it was happening. But they put this opaque plastic sheeting around the outside of the tube so that you couldn't watch the race unless you paid to watch the race.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. So for weeks, locals have been like pocket knifing all these things and cutting them down, and they're pissed about this and they're furious about that. So finally, race weekend happens this weekend. If you looked at getting an Uber into downtown for some reason, you were easily above $200 just in taxi fare to try and get in and out. I watched it on my couch. You could open the door. You could try and hear. You could try and see. You could try and put a drone up. Couldn't get to the race, man. I literally watched it from my couch with 2 of my neighbors came over. My neighbors are really rad. And we just sat there grumpy as fuck, just eating potato chips with, or like chips and salsa, just sitting there like, yep, there it is.
That is the most heartbreaking. Oh, God,
now, for contrast, if you just like motorsports, NASCAR's not really been my thing, but if I want to hear a powerful engine in a car and they want to scream around and just the track experience, I could get front row, turn 2, turn 3 wall tickets for NASCAR up at the north end of Las Vegas, right? At Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I could go all the way up there. $60. You get a seat. You could all the hot dogs and beer you want to crush. If you just want to go see racing, you can go do it. Yeah, dude. So what really happened toward the end of this last week was all the tickets, because they couldn't sell any of them for that price. I mean, they were like 70% under projections after the cream of the crop tickets were all gone or whatever. They started tanking the prices to the point where it got to be about $1,500 the last time I checked, which is still wildly expensive for one night of racing, period, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
But even if I was like, it's bucket list, I'm going to spend the money just to have the experience or whatever, how pissed off is the guy that bought the $11,000 seats that you're sitting next to, you know?
Yeah.
Because he got on pre-order. What a waste of fucking time.
So it's all over with now?
It's over with, save all of the buildings in the paddock and the streets and shit. They're going to open them up. It'll take, and it's showing my colors here a little bit. It's all union labor down there. So the fine Teamsters of wherever the fuck are going to spend their, 10 to 5 shifts, 9 to 5 shifts, whatever, taking bricks down and moving stuff around. You're going to leave some of the core buildings up because we have 3 more years of this. It'll take them 6 months to unwind the track so that they can take 6 months to build it right back up again for next year's race. I can just see this happening now.
For half a decade now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the only reprieve is that last weekend, not this last one, but the one before that, they allowed open traffic to drive part of the course for the weekend. And they had cops everywhere and stuff. And we got to drive part of the course, but they were like, as they're letting you in, like the gate to do the track, and then you'd poop out on some other actual street, and then you'd have to find your way to the nearest freeway to go wherever. They were like, if you even chirp those tires driving on this track, you're going to jail. So like the Autobahn, right? It's an actual road that people need to drive on. They made it like that for not this weekend, but last weekend. And I drove part of the track in my car, which I thought was sick. Yeah, you're doing the speed limit, but you're kind of just like, wow, this is what it's like. Like that was meaningful to me because I was like, I don't get to just take the Z out onto Circuit of the Americas, right? Or down in Mexico City and shit. So for what it's worth, that was a fun experience because I did it on my own. But I mean, it was heartbreaking. And everyone's furious. And it's just like, we should have known. We should have known.
Right? Yeah, it seemed too good to be true.
Oh, of course.
And certainly it was, right?
100%.
So.
Yeah. So that's my F1 tales from the couch, as it were. But yeah.
Oh, man.
Good times. Anyway.
Just real quick, technical question.
Sure.
Can you hear the dinging from my computer?
I don't know. Let's hear it.
Well, no, it's been going off. Like, Aaron's telling that right there. Did you hear that?
Nope.
Bring, bring. Okay, good. All right, so that's just me that can hear. All right, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure because it was distracting, and I was hoping that you weren't able to hear it. So
no.
Good. Okay.
Although if that happens on my side,
technical rube here, so I didn't know.
If that happens on my side, it's 100%. You wouldn't hear it, but the recording would pick it up, which sucks. I can't divorce that noise from the central system without also divorcing where I'm getting your audio from. Okay. So you're actually in the clear. If we hear shit, it's probably always on my side at this point.
Okay. So, well, that's
it sucks, right?
That's a sad story. Yeah,
it's like
sucks.
Cool. We finally get a cool series that's like sprouting in popularity.
That, and you yourself have always had, boner for motors.
Yeah.
And
boner for motors.
So yeah.
That's a bumper sticker I'm gonna get. It's great.
But and so it's always been something that has been a big passion of yours for a long time. So for you to get that close and yet that far, and I would suspect that you were nowhere near alone in that category of people who were hyped for this and then got told, "Oh, you can't afford to come to our party." That's pretty gross.
Yeah,
and it probably left a pretty bad taste in the general populace of the areas, because Vegas is a money spending town. Right. And they want to be entertained. And if they can afford to go, even if they can't afford to go, they typically go do it anyway. But this was so out of reach intentionally for your average viewer that it just made the whole thing gross, and that they have to repeat it for at least 3 more years. That's going to be a hard pill for that town to swallow.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, well, as a pretty creative dude and also someone who's licensed to operate a motorcycle, I could probably put my bike in places that I can't put a car. So maybe I could find some corner of some place to chill on, or some hilltop to kind of just sit there next to my bike and watch, right? Like, none of this was even possible. When I started seeing the stuff about them putting that like Cisco visqueen plastic that's like opaque so people on the skybox walkway couldn't see the race without paying. And then the reaction from everyone, I was just like, this is, and frankly, who wants to be on the streets after a race like that gets let out? There's going to be a bunch of amped up people, with cars now trying to get home. So I think the couch might have been the best place, all things considered. But yeah, it's a missed opportunity, man. It's a bummer. Yeah. So, but it's over with until next year.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Next year.
It's going to be great. Good luck trying to catch a flight on a race weekend now, in addition to fight weekends and everything else that goes on. Yeah. It's just going to be way more expensive. So I don't know. Anyway.
And that's going to be in October every year or November?
I don't know. They like the football schedules that come out slightly differently each year. I assume because of where they're at in the world racing, that they'll try to get to the Middle East races toward the winter time after the winter break or whatever, and probably, Texas and Nevada probably later too, because it's colder, but it's dry. So we'll see.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, you had a lot going on, man.
I did. I had a emotional roller coaster of a week.
Talk to me. What's up?
Well, the first thing that we had was our family dog, who we've had since she was, we think, a little over a year old. Yeah, we got her off of Craigslist in, I think, 2011. We had her for 12 years. And so she was between 14 and 15. And she was the family dog. Oliver doesn't remember a day without this dog. And Kate has had her for the vast majority of her childhood.
Right.
And she's been pretty rough. We didn't know if she was going to make it to last Christmas, and then she just kept pushing forward, and she was pretty rough looking. And we kept feeding her like, joint medicine and CBD and stuff like that. And the dog just kept eating and wagging her weird hairless tail and like just kept going. And finally on actually last Tuesday, she we noticed a significant downturn in her, and we were like, she's not going to make it through the night. But we had been obligated to go to a local newspaper party where I was actually tattooing at.
Right.
And so I had to go there, and we were looking at her going, this isn't good. Like she's not going to make it through the night. And so, but she was comfortable. She had been, everything had been taken care of. We gave her some more medicine, and we let the kids know, hey, hurry home. The dog isn't doing so well. We don't think she's going to make it through the night. And when they got home, she had already passed. So they found her, and it was pretty rough. We had a rough couple of days. Took the kids with me, and we went up to my father-in-law's place, found a little tree, and buried her under the tree. And it was cathartic for the kids to be there and actually experience that. They've never had a family pet pass away before, and this dog had been they're not only companion, but they're like kind of nanny guard dog, that she would patrol every night to make sure the kids were in their bed since they were very little. She would protect them for everything. Like she was about the best kind of family dog that you could have asked for. Her name was Kaylee, and she passed away. And then 2 days later, I got kind of a kick to the dad heart because my eldest child, Kate,
Mm-hmm.
is no longer a child. I am the father of an adult human now. She turned
That's
18.
It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it was weird, because I made a point to hug her the day before and give her a good long kind of dad hug that she was very receptive to, and I was just like, listen, this is the last time I get to hug you as a kid.
Right.
So, and I don't get to do this tomorrow. Tomorrow you'll be my adult child.
I'm not showing you love ever again past tomorrow.
Yeah, after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, it was
Get her
funny,
luggage for her 18th birthday. Be like, it's time.
I actually had 12:02 opened up her door and said, "Get out."
Did you really?
Yeah. So,
Nice.
and, yeah. And but yeah, it was cathartic because I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of the woman she's become. She's given me zero grief her entire childhood.
She's a cool
never had
kid.
a single problem. Yeah.
Adult.
Not one problem. And I would get all the warnings from other parents. Ooh, she's a teenager. How's that going? I was like, actually really good.
Mhm.
Like, all you have to do is talk to him. Apparently that works.
Yeah.
And
Kicked her out this morning. I don't have to worry about it.
yeah, it's not my problem. But she's she's been able to date since she was 16, but hasn't. And not for lack of interest in her, but she's just got such a wisdom to her that she just doesn't see these boys as potentials. So she's like, no, I'm not interested.
Also, guys are stupid, especially at that age. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we don't have our shit figured out probably until maybe our 30s if we're lucky.
Right. And that's kind of what I assume is with her, and I've talked to her about it. She kind of agreed with me on this, and was like, when you're 18 or 19, you're gonna run into some guy who has his shit together. He's got his own truck. He's got a career path that he's working really hard at, and probably even some land. And you're gonna go, and then you're gonna lock him down, and you guys are gonna have a whole slew of kids.
Lock him down.
Yeah. I mean, with her personality, that's kind of what's going to happen. She's gonna, you don't have a choice. Here we go, family time. And but she's got such a wicked sense of humor. She could probably do stand up. She's just a very eclectic, unique, good-natured, good-hearted, intelligent child. And and now that is all applied to her as a young adult. And so, but I got to look at her for the first time as an adult and go, yeah, you're an adult now. She got her driver's license a little late. She got it on actually Halloween Day.
Mm-hmm.
And and immediately I put her to work. I was like, go pick up your brother right now. And then, and then the ink wasn't even dry on her DMV paperwork.
Right. Yeah.
She had to go today because she got her license.
Go get your dad a sandwich. I like it from this store. Yeah.
She's bringing me chicken for dinner tonight, actually.
Yeah, perfect.
So,
this is great.
But she, the ink wasn't even dry when I sent her to go get her brother on her DMV paperwork. But she literally had to go today to go get her license again because it expired on her birthday 2 weeks after she got it. So
God, that sucks.
Yeah, she had to double down on DMV time this month.
You don't have to retest or anything, right? You just have to pay for the new car. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, God, that would have been like a nightmare relived, huh?
Yeah. She's like,
this again?
Black cat in the Matrix goes by, and she's like, what?
That cat.
I've been here before.
Right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and so it was, bittersweet. It was bittersweet. And we went for her birthday. She's so simple. I was like, you want to have a big lavish party? Do you want to go do something? Do you want to go see a what do you want to do for your 18th birthday? And she goes, no. She went to a funeral voluntarily. She went down to a friend of ours, a legislator friend of ours, son had passed away for medical reasons. He's one of our state legislators, and she's a dear friend. And her adult son, who was out of the military, he was like 29 or something passed away from a gastrointestinal issue, and randomly and suddenly. And so they had a memorial for him, and Erin was going to go because she felt it necessary. Right. But then Kate's like, I'll go with you. And she's also, I'm not going to make you go on your birthday. She goes, no, that's fine. I'll go. And so she went to a funeral and played, because it was it wasn't really a funeral. It was a memorial where they were like doing the things he liked, which was board games. And so they were playing like Uno and stuff like that at this memorial on her birthday. And then she went, we went to one of our local favorite pizza places with the family that's coming over for Thanksgiving. They showed up, and then Erin's mom and stuff, and we had pizza, and then immediately went to the movies because she wanted to see the new Hunger Games.
Oh, that's out already?
That came out. Yeah.
I heard they were making one, but
saw that. Terrible. I hated it.
Yeah.
I loved the first series, but this one was it felt like it was written by AI, like the screenplay. Like, it didn't make sense, and Kate had to explain a bunch of stuff to us because she read the book, and she's like, it's all going on in his head. Like, there's a lot of inner dialogue that they write, and they did not convey this in the movie. So it was really kind of hard to understand the characters and their motivations because they just didn't make sense. There were some cool scenes. There was a couple of funny parts and stuff like that, but overall, like, C- kind of situation.
Yeah.
But so do not recommend unless you're just have a need for more Hunger Games material. But catch it when you can, but don't go out of your way.
Yeah, I'll probably wait till it hits a streamer. I wasn't really into the series anyway, but it's funny you mentioned that you thought it was written by AI because, I mean, the strike just ended, so it's probable that there's probably elements of that in there for sure.
I would imagine. And that's kind of what I was thinking through this. I was like, this strike material, was this
there's a brand new, and I hadn't considered it until a couple of weeks ago, but professionally, I interact with other companies quite a bit. And often there's periods of time where I will ask those companies to bid on a potential solution for the job that I work for. And I'm convinced that some of the bids are coming back as if they were written by AI. And it's like, that's something I hadn't prepared for. I don't think this is an authentic. I think you just hit a button and said, let's see how it goes. So, yeah, things you don't think about offhand. Anyway, go on.
No, and then we went and got ice cream afterwards, and then she went with her friend Sarah to go hang out and came back later. Pretty low key, but that's how she kind of lives her life. She's, this is a girl who knitted a seat cover for her bench seat of her 1978 Ford Courier truck.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, so she knitted that on her own. And so, but we got her some cool stuff. We got her a vintage stereo that looks like an old vintage stereo for the truck.
Nice.
But it's got all the modern features of Bluetooth and
all
that.
Sure.
But it just looks like a classic stereo. And some other things too. Some a weighted blanket and a whole bunch of other little things that she wanted. But
I know Christmas is coming. And we've talked about that a little bit. We got to talk about that some more after the show, actually.
Okay. All right.
Well, happy belated to your now adult child. Now, here's what I think. Here's where I think you should go with this. When the boy comes of age, I think that's when you proclaim, now I don't have to do any more work. Right? I don't have to even try anymore. I now have adult kids, and you guys need to take care of me.
I fully agree, and which is why I'm really pushing that kid to be a lawyer.
There you go, and be like, I will make the prescriptions weekly, quarterly, biannually. These are what I need. You guys can take care of that now. Go forth in the world. You've got everything you need, and all my love. Now get out. I'm just kidding.
Kate, oh yeah, Kate, you open up a bookstore and you become a proofreader and copy editor. Marry a rich dude who's got a big farm.
There you go.
Oliver, you become a constitutional lawyer. Both of you guys now can take care of us. So, but I've got a couple of things I got left. Kate is pretty much complete as far as like, you know, all of the money obligations that I have to, other than just regular stuff, right?
Sure.
But you know, the braces and the vehicle and stuff like that.
Right.
So I've got two more things. I got to put the boy in braces,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got to put the boy in match whatever he's saved into a car, which he's already sending me a ton. I actually took him out yesterday driving for the first time in a parking lot.
Nice. How'd it go?
It was fun. It went well.
Nice.
It's like, you know, kid plays enough video games to kind of get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge help these days with the kids learning to drive is the video game time is really
well. And I don't know what it's like for girls because I haven't really talked to a bunch, but I certainly know for myself and for guys in general, because I've talked to enough guys. I think when you get to a certain age where a car becomes in the realm of possibility, right? We're talking a year, 2 years out, maybe less, whatever you're getting to that. I need to get my driver's license, and just there's a bond there because there's a sense of freedom. Like, yes, I'm told I need to go to the grocery store and pick up, I don't know, toilet paper and bring it home or whatever, but I get to do this in a car. Like, this is the first sense of like, and it's going to break down the following day and you're going to be right back down to where you started. But that's kind of a rite of passage for guys. Like, fuck yeah, I have a car. Like, I could just go do these things now. I can go places. And
yeah,
that's
it's a sense of independence.
Yeah, even in small ways, you know. So I think it's probably way more evident in the boy, I would imagine, than it is in the girl because
he's frothing at the mouth.
Yeah, that's
she
just
was like
that's how it goes. Yeah.
Laissez-faire about it. Like, whatever. You know, when I get it, I get it. My friends will pick me up until then, or I'll just go wherever you drop me off.
Right.
Oliver's like, can I get in a car? Can I buy this car? And sending me like Craigslist like finds and stuff like that. And you know, and I'm like, hold your horses, bud. We got to take this in steps. Like, I don't need you to be, you know, dumping money into a car yet. Let's figure it out. You know, and but yeah, he's absolutely different than Kate in that he wants to drive now.
Yeah.
And he is, you know, he's not yet 15.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I'm
that's
like,
right about that time. They're a year or two out, maybe. It's like it's time to get excited about the potential to get into a vehicle and go. Yeah.
So yeah.
Quickly.
Outside of that, like we had a couple of like instances where, you know, the fall of civilization was rearing its ugly head in retail customer service this week that were kind of funny. I was actually at Walmart and I was looking for what was I looking for? Very particular. One of the ring lights. So because I needed one for that event that I was doing, and I needed a new one for my station anyway. So, and they had one on sale there because of Black Friday sale stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna go check that out. And as I go walking down the far edge of the electronics section, there's this green-haired girl on her own personal cell phone standing in the corner. I'm like, whatever. She's at Walmart. She's got to be miserable. So, but I needed to know where to find this because I kind of like scanned and was like, hey, do you know, but she turned her back so that I couldn't actually ask her a question because she was on her own personal phone call. And I was like, as I walked by her, just the 4-foot radius around her just permeated with an awful BO. And this girl was, you know, early 20s and not unattractive other than, you know, the poison frog hair. She was fine. She just obviously hasn't showered in a while, and which I find really gross, and you shouldn't be in public that way. But anyway, so I go just wandering around to not I'm like, I'm not asking her. She's obviously having a personal moment. So I decided to wander around, and I see, and the whole time the phone at the counter is just ringing off the hook, like
Right.
rapid fire. And there's a dude standing at the counter, and just kind of cowboy looking dude. And so I go wandering around and I rifle through the different aisles, and I go, oh, here it is. And I'm looking at it, but it says the not sale price on it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And as I'm doing that, I see the dude walking up with this green haired slug behind him, just like all upset that she's even being bothered.
Sure.
And he's got a grin on his face, like, this chick is out of her mind.
Right.
And like, he's smiling, like, man, she sucks. But she's going to go unlock a case at one of the video game things for him. And so he flashes me a look like, oh man. And then she unlocks a case and doesn't say anything to him and just turns around and walks away. Like, lets him pick his own game out. Like,
nice.
And we're like,
yeah.
Wow, okay. Why don't you take 4? So
yeah, customer service at an all-time high.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but as I walk through her trail, that trail of smell is behind her again.
Sure.
And so then I walk up to the counter where she's now standing there, like arms down, just not looking at anything, just like looking off into nothing. And obviously has a misery aura about her. And I walk up and I'm like, excuse me, I have a question. And she doesn't even answer me in words. She just goes, and just like looks at me like, what? And I'm like, never mind. And she just kind of looks at me like, what? Doesn't say a word, not one word to me. And so I turn around and start walking away, and I look back and I glance at her, and she's just like, or like rolling her eyes, and then just walks away. And I'm like, okay, I'm saying something. So as I'm walking through, I see some, guy with like the badge, but he's got the yellow stripe on it, which means he's in some form of leadership there.
Oh, okay.
And so
he's the one rolling back prices?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's his whole gig.
Got it.
So I walk up to that guy, and it says apparel on him, and I'm like, yeah, you probably don't have anything to do with this. And I was like, hey, just so you know, and I kind of half explained the situation. I didn't explain like the full, the first part of it, just that this girl gave me so much attitude. Something's obviously wrong. Her
attitude was only eclipsed by her odor.
Right. And I was like, and there wasn't, she's obviously hasn't showered, but something's really bothering her. You might want to go have a talk with her.
Sure.
Can you please scan? All I needed was to find out if this is on sale. And he's like, oh yeah, no problem. He scanned it for me. And I was like, cool, thank you. And I go and I pay for my thing. And I went, maybe somebody of the management level needs to hear that this girl is either needs to be sent home or something checked in on or something. Sure. So I go up to the front counter area and I talk to some supervisor, and I was like, and then I explained the whole scenario of like, she was in the corner on her phone. I don't know. She could be having a bad day. But she's obviously very upset. And I think someone needs to go check on her.
Right.
Because she is not conducting herself in a friendly manner.
She's not fit to interact with customers.
Right. And so, and I never do that, but I tried to be as softball about it as possible in order to, give this girl maybe a little bit of grace.
Right. Yeah. We're not.
So
yeah. You're not like full Karen mode. You're just like, yeah, I got you. Okay.
Because I recognize that. I was like, yeah, I'm mad. And this little brat is being a little brat, but
yeah,
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what that phone call was about. It could have been that her boyfriend or girlfriend or them broke up with her.
Sure.
But whatever the case may be, it's none of my business. But there's a certain point where your personal stuff cannot reflect upon how I'm being treated when I'm trying to give you money. So,
exactly.
So then, yesterday after church, we went to Rogers Burgers, which is a local burger joint that is got 4 locations here in the Kootenai County area. And we went to the one off of Government, and we go in, and there's only one other family in there who happened to go to church with us. We're like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? And there are like 8 of them, all sitting at this table.
Wow. Yeah.
And so we go order our food, and the guy at the register was totally fine. Chatted with him. He was on it, read back our order. Everything was good. Happened to look up, and I mean, you remember Rogers Burgers, right?
No, I never did go. I been by it, so I totally get the vibe. But
right.
For burgers, it was always I think it's called Zips.
Oh, yeah,
well, yeah, Zips was big, and then in my day, I don't think it's there anymore. They had Senior Froggies, and that was the best because you get 49-cent taco day downtown. So we would always beeline down there because it was cheap as shit. Or like if we were going out, it was going to be under $1. So
Rogers isn't a gourmet place.
Yeah, it's like a sock hop type of vibe to it, right?
Right. Yeah. It's just your average cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
And so normally, you can get like a double kind of situation for like, $6, right? The cheapest thing on the menu now, we looked up at the board. Cheapest thing on the menu now is $8 for a single nothing on it little cheeseburger.
Yeah.
The double is $12, and the like triple and quad that they have on the menu is $14.50 or $16.75 for a burger. And so we're just like, what? And so, $60 later, I'm into some burgers and fries, and we go sit down, and they call our order up. So I grab it, bring it back, and they had swapped all of the stuff on the burger between Oliver and Aaron. Oliver wants a plain cheeseburger, nothing on it. Aaron wants a lettuce wrap burger with
everything
grilled onions and the bacon and all the stuff, right? So they put all of that stuff on his burger and just a plain cheeseburger on her lettuce wrap. So she's like, okay, I'll take it back. So she brought it up there, and this pink-haired slug comes comes up and goes, can I help you? And she's like, yeah, so these are backwards. This is wrong and this one's wrong. Can I get them remade? And she goes, I don't see what's wrong with them. And she goes, well, I just told you that this is supposed to be on this, and this is. She goes, what's the difference? She goes, the difference is one doesn't need to be on a bun, the other one does.
Right. Yeah.
And she goes, well, fine, whatever, and got like really huffy with Aaron, and Aaron's just like, why are you giving me attitude?
Right.
And she goes, well, because you're just being picky for no reason. And Aaron's like, excuse me, do you need the receipt to remake these?
Right.
No, I got it. Okay, fine. And this chick, I swear to God, took 20 minutes, made 3 other people who had walked in afterwards food before she remade Aaron's food. And Aaron stood there at the counter just looking at her, like, just boiling, just starting to boil. Like, come on, girl. Like, and so then the manager comes out and she goes, can I help you? She goes, no, I'm sorry. This is a difference. We've already got it handled. And we're laughing because we're like, oh man, this girl locked horns with the wrong lady. And so then this girl like starts pitching Aaron like these dirty looks that we can see from across the restaurant. And my daughter and I are like, oh no, don't look at that woman that way. And she's just like turning around and just shooting Aaron dirty looks. You can just
see the fuse like getting shorter and shorter and shorter as all this is going.
Yeah. And so, and she comes back and she brings the burgers back up, and they're wrong again. She put like the onions on Oliver's burger. And she goes, no, those are supposed to be on that burger. And she goes, just grabs them with her hand, half of them, and throws them. And you'll appreciate this as an onion hater, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm loving it already.
Takes the onions and just throws them on Aaron's lettuce wrap burger. And she goes, there. And she goes, you can't do that. You have to remake that one. You didn't even take all the onions off of it. And she goes, what are you talking about? They're off. It's fine. She goes, open the burger. And she goes to open the burger, and she goes, see, there's not that many. And she goes, there should be none. Like, I'm sorry, like, this isn't that difficult, and we're not being picky for not wanting onions on that burger. He won't eat it. And what if he was allergic to them?
Right.
Like, this is insane that I'm having to argue with you. And she's just like, this is nonsense. Why would I do this? Why are you acting like this? And she's like, why am I acting like this? This is your job.
Right.
And Aaron, and then so the manager comes out. She goes, can I look at this? And I've walked up at this point.
Right.
And she goes, get your manager. Aaron's like, get your manager now. I need to talk to your manager. She goes, she's right there in the black shirt. And she goes, okay. And the girl won't like come near. And then like I stood up and I was like, get your manager now. And she went, okay. Hey, can you come over here? And the girl like comes over. Can I help you? Another teenager,
right?
Like,
yeah,
maybe 19 years old.
Yeah.
And she's like, what can I do for you? And we were explaining the situation. And this girl, the pink hair girl, just starts barking. This bitch can't talk to me like this, blah, 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 blah. And like starts going off. And Aaron literally mommed her. She went, shush. And like literally shushed her in the middle of the restaurant. The whole restaurant went quiet. Everyone stopped talking. And looked like darted her just shush. Yeah. And like and then she goes, you're not talking anymore. Anyway, this is what happened. It went through the whole scenario with the manager. She's going, okay, well, I'll just make them for you. And this girl's like, you can't talk to me like that. You can't talk to me like that. And Aaron's like, what are you going to do about it?
Oh, no.
What are you going to do about it? And like starts flexing on her over the counter. And I'm like trying everything I can not to laugh because It has escalated to this point where she is about to find out what dynamite looks like. And she would just, so the manager's like,
was the other family from the church still in the restaurant as well?
Watching the whole thing
and laughing
great. With my kids at the other side
hilarious.
Of the restaurant. Yeah. So, and they know Aaron from her political stuff,
right?
Yeah. Not only church, but so they know like, ooh, they messed with the wrong lady.
Right. And it's Undertaker time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so they drag the pink haired girl into the back and just say, you need a break. And then this other girl makes the burgers, right? And then hands them to her. She goes, do you want them to go? We're like, nope, we're eating them right here.
Yeah.
And so we just sat down and they just slowly ate their burgers. Pink girl stayed in the back for the next 20 minutes while everyone else had to run the upstairs. And then like the guy who took the money at the register at the beginning, he like came walking out of the back and then saw us and literally did the Homer Simpson like back into the bush and didn't turn around. He just backed away, and no one came out into the lobby until we were gone. And so Aaron made this video about it and it went crazy viral.
That's hilarious.
But she kind of came off a little bit like a Karen in it because she was emotional and she didn't explain the situation really well. Because she was like, this is what's wrong with society right now. The example of what I had given her with the Walmart creature and then this pink-haired creature. Yeah. But just as a general malaise that has taken over the entire younger customer service, they make you feel as if you put them in this position, that you're the one who's like putting them in some type of slave position and asking so much of them for them to do their job. And you can't be pleasant enough. They refuse to even recognize that you're trying to be nice to them. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to do their jobs. They feel burdened by it. How dare, like, this is beneath me. I should be at home making money playing video games or whatever I should be famous on TikTok or whatever. There's just this, and it's pervasive across all of customer service nowadays.
Big time.
And it's so aggravating. And so Aaron kind of flipped out on it and said, this is the fall of society. Where are the parents? Right. Why aren't you teaching your kids how to actually handle a job? They don't even know how to handle reality. And when they're forced into a labor position, such as a burger flipper or working at Walmart or any other capacity, they feel put upon. And how dare I shouldn't have to do this or listen to these people and still expect to get a paycheck.
Right.
You know, and so that was the topic that she was actually trying to expand upon, using this as an example. But she came off as somebody who like just screamed at some poor girl at just doing her job at a burger place. And it was an interesting week of just all of this happened within a matter of like 4 or 5 days.
I'm surprised as you guys were laughing in the lobby that you didn't see like hundreds of cell phones like recording the whole thing, you know, that kind of thing.
Fortunately, the only other family in there was that. Yeah, the only other family in there was that family.
See,
that we went to church with.
I got really furious the last time something like that happened to me, and I decided to get super pragmatic about it. It was a place where you could buy toolboxes, and I went in and I found a toolbox, and I was like, "Hey, do you have these in multiple colors?" Because I wasn't keen on the color that you have. However, it's a good price. I'll probably buy that one anyway if it's the only one you got. Your website says several. Just checking. I don't know. Well, I don't know either, but you know, you have an entire back room. What do you say we roll the dice and go look, you know? Who knows? We could try. We could just try. So they basically said, "Hey, fuck off. I'm busy. If you don't see one, you don't see one." I don't know the answer, man. Like, well, you have the specific color vest on of someone who should know that. So I just went into the back room. I just took the tag and I went into the back room. And there's the dude back there that's kind of like, I was like, "Hey man, where are the toolboxes at? Like, I'm looking for this one." He's like, "Do you work here?" I'm like, "No," but they weren't willing to check. So I thought I'd just go back and take a look. "Oh, okay." I'll go find it. You should probably go out there before my manager comes. "All right, here you go." And they had it and I bought it.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. You have to do that now. Almost everything is self-service now.
It is nuts, man. And like, it's funny that we're kind of getting to an age where that's like more and more evident, I think, because we can see these things. Because my dad's been on that for a long time too. Like, well, I really like this Home Depot out by your place because the ones where I'm at, you know, Jesus, they just look on their phone and be like, "I don't fucking know." Well, maybe it's aisle 6 or 6 through 12. Go figure it out. And he's like, "Your guys will actually be like, yeah, let's go look together and they'll help." And I always thought that was like a dad thing, but you're right. And it's way more evident because I've been in that position too. Like I had the famous Scrag 2x6 story I might have told you down at the hardware store when I was in Seattle.
Yeah.
And just for those of you listening, short version is there's like aisle 4 has like cheap lumber that's twisted kind of, but I needed it as a form board for some landscaping stuff I was doing around my apartment. So it didn't need to be great. I just needed a piece of wood. So I bring it to the front counter. Ladies, "Well, where did you get the wood from?" "Aisle 4, cheap, whatever down there." "Yeah, what kind of wood is it?" "Cheap aisle 4 wood." "I don't know." "Right, yeah, no, I get that. But what kind of wood is it?" She's looking for the sticker. So I just grab it and I'm just like, I give it a good long sniff. I'm like, how the fuck should I know? I got it from my... The dude behind me just starts dying laughing. I'm like, "I don't know. Is it? Oh, I think it's red fir. No, that's definitely pine. I don't fucking know, man. Just charge me $6, whatever it costs. I want to not be here anymore." Yeah, it's true though. Like that stuff's getting out of control.
And because of all of this now, I will go out of my way if I get like exceptional customer service, which should be the norm.
Right.
But if I get some kid who's like 20 years old and is just on it, he just has like understands it. He's engaging. He's like, "Oh no, I can help you out. Let me show you where this is at. In fact, let me give you a better recommendation." That guy or that girl who's that, and I've done it over and over again. I will find the manager and go, "That kid gave me the best service I've had in this building."
Right.
And I make a point of it. So that way it socially encourages that.
Right.
But also that kid will then hopefully get promoted.
Yeah.
And if I can keep doing that over and over again, hopefully we can start shifting it, but I don't think there's enough of people like me doing that. I think that we all need to, when we finally, like I have a whole kiosk in my tattoo station for business cards of when I finally get that kind of really amazing, exceptional service.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Give me a stack of your cards."
Right.
Because I will give you so much business. Anytime anybody needs heating and air conditioning, they get your card.
Right.
And I talk to a lot of people. So here you go. And man, I tripled one dude's business because of that. He got some big contracts, including our church and stuff. So like,
there you go.
There's a lot of business that can be done, but these kids don't, like these other kids just don't care. So I'm going to celebrate the kids that do care and I'm going to promote the kids that do care, and I'm going to recommend the kids that do care, and then the other ones, you know, I don't even care. Like they you know, they can. But yeah,
but
it's
I fear for those kids in the next stages of their professional lives too, you know, because there's even more and more of those folks. Like I interview people all the time for where I work, and I swear to God, some of those are like people that are required to be there in order to maintain unemployment. You know what I mean? And you're just like, you're in pajamas.
Yeah.
Like, this is horrific. This is abhorrent, dude. Like,
the girl at Walmart was in
no experience, extremely entitled. Just like, hey, I know you have a double major in underwater basket weaving from liberal arts school of wherever the fuck, but you don't have experience to just jump into middle management where we work. Like, this is not how this works, you know?
They feel entitled to it though.
Holy shit. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, man. Because that's tomorrow's workforce everywhere, you know? But from the society perspective, I'm inclined to agree with your wife's sentiment, even if the delivery was not how she intended, maybe. But
emotional.
Brute force a little bit. So two things came to mind in that story. One, that's hilarious. Two, you mentioned double. When the family comes down in my neck of the woods to visit, you know what we have down here?
Oh, yes, I do.
We have a lot of In-N-Out burgers in my neck of the woods.
And I'll be honest. It's actually about 67% of why I want to go down.
Yeah, which is fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But no, I grew up on In-N-Out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. Like people who don't, like, in adulthood and recently, who go try it for the first time, are like, I don't get what the big deal is.
Yeah.
You never will. I do, and I love In-N-Out. I love it. It's
for quick serve burgers. It is top of the list for me for that. If I want to like a gourmet burger that I'm not frankly going to cook myself at home or whatever, with, like, you know, bacon stacks and the egg on it and avocado or small kids or whatever the fuck you want to put on there, a whole chicken breast, who knows? That's a different kind of scaling system. But for quick serve burgers, I don't think it gets better than In-N-Out, in my opinion.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Oh, and doubling down, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm starting to make noise again.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, I got a little amplifier down here that was on Black Friday sale for like next to nothing. So I was like, you know what? I said it. I meant it. I'm going to start getting back on the grind and cranking out. God, my hands hurt. It's amazing how fast your calluses go away when you haven't played.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just like, how? So, but yeah, we're at it for an hour a day for 2 weeks. We found 1 hour to carve out to this, to train me and my ambition.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm just plugging away at it in my office after work, before I do other stuff, and my hands hurt like hell, but we're making noise again. So we'll see where that goes.
Do you have recording and mixing equipment? I would imagine you do in some capacity. So, cool.
Yep. When that gets figured out, I'll start testing and shaping sounds and then figure the rest out from there. But really, I think the bulk of the older inspiration for me for music playing was also the collaboration of other people. Because, you know, if you came at it from a purely let's try to make something cohesive in the key of insert a key, it was really what I fed on a lot was, hey, can we try this? Like, what if we try it this way? And then we would just try 6 or 7 different ways, and we would all kind of naturally get to a cool jamming point. The other thing, too, is like playing a bass was like, I don't know, and getting lost. Guitar is a math problem. Like, there's smaller fretboards, sausage fingers, 2 extra strings. There's a lot going on. So I'm making my way through. I got about, I don't know, 3 or 4 Pumpkin songs, a couple of Nirvana songs down. So I'm like getting through the bar chord phase. We're getting into some scales. So I'll get there. I'll get there.
Well, I look forward to hearing your noodle work later.
Yeah, so. Dude, we'll do some modern relics karaoke.
Ooh.
Oh man. Well,
But,
so Kate's an old lady now.
yeah.
I've got to say, just on that topic, like I remember when you brought her home from the hospital and stuff, and it's like it's fun and not fun to think about like how old I've become as a result of being like, holy shit, like these humans are like driving cars and shit like that.
Right.
It was not pleasantly surprising. It was shocking how mature your children are for other kids their age. Like even when I went up, I think I saw you this summer, right? We went up there in June-ish or something. So
Father's Day. Yep.
yeah. And I was just really kind of blown away, like, huh, like, pretty cool little humans you've got, man. And to see her now at 18 is just mind blowing. It's like, wow, dude, this is crazy. Yeah. So, but
I managed to make and raise likable children.
Yeah.
And very, very good kids.
Yeah, it's cool to see, man. So I hope she had a good birthday, even though funeral might not have been what I was interested in at 18 years old. But you know,
a blast. I don't know. Yeah. So
it'd be worse if she came home and was like, "We had a great time." Like, ugh.
I know. It was awesome.
Can't wait to go again. Jesus. Yeah.
Who else do we know that's really old? I'm gonna make a tour out of this.
Oh my god! Starts candy striping on the weekends. Like, dude, get away from them. Go do regular things.
She just like recreates Wedding Crashers, but it's Funeral Crashers, and she just goes for all the good like finger foods. And...
Oh my god! She's like, their salad bar is awesome. It's like,
you guys do board games here? No, right? No. All right, well,
you guys should. We could try. You know.
Yeah. Is that mic good for karaoke? Or
oh my
just,
god!
Like, eulogy stuff.
Just eulogy stuff. Who comes to a funeral with a fucking songbook? Who is this person? You know. Oh, that's great. Well, so hey, happy holidays though. I mean, it's here now. Yeah.
Hey, can I tell you about a thing that I have found in all of this weird life stuff that I've been doing?
Sorry, man, we're out of time. No, yeah, of course. What's up?
I was like, oh, are we? I found this show. It was a recommendation from a client friend of mine, and I trust, like, we have very similar tastes in multimedia, and we're constantly going back and forth with each other on recommendations, right? From comic books, movies, and everything else. And a really good dude named Justin. And he's been bugging me to watch this show, and just, have you watched it yet? I was like, no, dude, I haven't watched it yet. And I kind of put it on the back burner, and because it's animated, and I hate like TV animation for the most part. There's a few exceptions. Like I can do Rick and Morty. I can do like a few here and there, but like the Clone Wars, I just couldn't do it because it's the pace of it and the animation. Which is funny because the show was actually done by the same guy who I think did the Clone Wars and a lot of other things, such as what else did he do? He did Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack.
Okay.
And so
I've heard those names. I haven't watched them. I was more on the Venture Brothers side of things. Right. And I still don't really care
Adventure
for
Brothers is one of those.
Yeah.
But his name's Gendy Tartarovsky.
Okay.
And it's from the mind of him. And it is this amazing 2 seasons. That's all you're going to get out of this is 2 seasons. And it's called Primal. So, and it's a beautiful show. Absolutely gorgeous. I finally buckled down, and it's on HBO Max streaming. So, and I'm like, all right. And it's this story that it's a short story from Howard, or Robert E. Howard, who wrote Conan and John Carter of Mars and all of those. But he did a short story called Spear and Fang.
Okay.
And the show is built off of that. First and foremost, it is far and away one of the most beautifully animated shows I've ever seen. It's gorgeous all the way through. You could just watch it. just for the visuals alone.
Yeah.
But it is about a caveman who has a massive tragedy, and he's right on the cusp of like early civilization. Like he's like transitioning into like there's still dinosaurs and stuff, but there's a lot of like new pockets of like of early onset civilization that he doesn't fit into. But he has a massive tragedy where he loses his whole family to some dinosaurs right in the first episode, and he is going through the tragedy, and he runs into a dinosaur who has a bunch of babies, like two babies that ends up getting attacked by other dinosaurs, and he helps save her, but the babies get killed, and they create this weird bond. And she's you know, kind of a T-Rexy, small T-Rexy kind of thing, and she's got one big fang on one side of her face. And they go through this series of 2 seasons of them becoming very close and working together and going through all these crazy adventures with these crazy different creatures and beasts and finding people and moving along this storyline. And it's tragic and it's hilarious and it's amazing and it's so heartfelt, but at the same time it's brutal. It is so violent and gory and hilarious, but there's no dialogue because he's a caveman. So it's all grunts and roars.
Interesting.
And so then you get later on into it, and there's different dialects, like an old Celtic dialect and an old like ancient Egyptian dialect, but very little of speaking from even them. But it is just absolutely captivating. And I've been pushing it out on everybody.
Primal.
Like Primal. Yeah. Okay. Highly recommend. Beautiful storyline. Wonderful all the way until the end. And but just visually stunning. And but so much fun because of how wildly violent it is. Like I'm talking about ripping the arms off of an ape and beating him to death with his bloody stumps kind of stuff, like guts and eyeballs and all that, and dinosaurs just tearing things apart. And it's really gory, but like super well done in it, and it's really fun. But it's just an amazing show. Highly recommend it. 10 out of 10.
How long are the episodes?
20 minutes each, 25 minutes each. So they're not long. So you can cruise through 2 seasons in half a day. Yeah. And so, but it is just a beautiful storyline. The relationship that the two of them build is hilarious and endearing. They save each other over and over again and survive a lot of craziness. And but it just takes you, by the time you get to the end, you're like, oh, this was an incredible arc. You didn't realize it because episodically it's like, oh, this is the one with the big red bat creatures. Oh, this is the one where the monkey people get them. Oh, this is the woolly mammoth one. But because every episode subtly strings you along a narrative that you didn't even realize you were on until you're like 2 or 3 episodes into season 2 almost.
Interesting.
And you're like, wow, all of that mattered. All of the stuff before mattered. It all tied together.
I like when shows can both, I don't know how to articulate this, where they can both be standalone fun to watch an episode, but connect a greater theme to a story arc at the end of it that you kind of...
That's exactly what this does.
That's great.
So yeah, so I think you'll really enjoy it. Anybody who's watching, guys, watch the show. Yeah, it's great just even to put in the background. My kids love it. I got all the dudes at the shop, it's constantly on at the shop now, and they just have it on in the background, and the clients are sitting in the chair just kind of staring at the TV, just going, what the hell are we watching? Right. But then they get fully sucked into it. But it's probably the best one of the best recommendations I've gotten.
Hey, I'll put it on the list. Primal, HBO. Now, this show's not sponsored by HBO, but if HBO's listening, hey, give us a ring, you know? Yeah. Modern Relics podcast at gmail.com. Dude, that's exciting. That's something else I was going to chuck at you, but it's gone now.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna talk like kind of the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson
Yeah,
J6
there we go.
tapes.
That's what I was going to suggest. Yeah, so the January 6th stuff.
Yeah. So um Mike Johnson is our new Speaker of the House who won kind of snuck in there. Nobody knew who he was. He's out of Louisiana. And he sneaks in after they boot Kevin McCarthy for not following up on promises made.
Yeah.
Made a lot of promises, not a lot of follow through. So, so they get this Mike Johnson guy, and everyone's scratching their head. They're like, who is this guy? How did he get in there?"
Right.
And so far, I mean, it's pretty early on to tell, but he seems as the 56th Speaker of the House, considering Kevin McCarthy, the 55th, was the shortest term Speaker of the House in since I think 100 years or so. But
I was going to make a joke about how the government told us that aliens existed before they indicted a single person in the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell thing. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. And then, he releases all of the January 6 tapes, in the first month on the job?
Yeah. Yeah. And didn't tell anybody he was going to do it. He just dumped them all on Friday. And everyone's like, oh. And so now you've got all of the internet sleuths combing through every hour of it. And there's hundreds of thousands of hours of video. And they are finding some pretty big gems that are kind of pointing to the fact that 96% of what these people are going to jail for was all not true. That they orchestrated the entire thing to set people up, and then they're sending innocent people away, and that the Capitol Police and Nancy Pelosi and a bunch of them were all in on it, and they're shaking cops' hands as they're leading them through the Capitol.
The headlines are fantastic. Tapes show police escorting and even fist bumping protesters at the Capitol.
Yeah. Yeah. And then undercover people that they've uncovered, camera footage of cops pretending to be with their badges out going, okay, I'm going to be Antifa today. And then putting their badges down and going, I'm going to go instigate some stuff as Antifa. Mm-hmm. And just insane stuff. The next couple of weeks is going to be pretty crazy because now they want to indict. There's already talk in Congress right now of them indicting the entire J6 committee that had Liz Cheney and all of Ratzinger and all of those guys that were up there just throwing the book at everybody, and lying through their teeth about it, and they're getting caught. So now what's going to end up happening is they're calling for a committee to prosecute that whole committee.
Do you think they'll actually follow through with it?
Don't know. There's it seems like it's the ever long rabbit trail where you get to the end of the road, and then there's another clue to the next clue to the next clue to the next clue, and they'll just keep doing that in perpetuity. But I don't know.
Yeah, because they decried the whole releasing information over the Democrats' security concerns. Right. It's well, those weren't even articulated very well when you were throwing the book at anybody you could find in connection with that. And it's always been reported on, but really quietly, then immediately hopped over and focused elsewhere about how a lot of those support mechanisms were told not to come into the Capitol because it wasn't that bad. We don't need to send in National Guard and all this stuff. And
many stand down orders.
Yeah. People, Pentagon was whatever.
Well, it turns out even cops from New Jersey got there to the site prior to the Capitol Police doing it. Mm-hmm. So they got there first before the Capitol Police even showed up.
Yeah.
So
but the narrative though is the unprecedented attack on our own Capitol, and it's just
multiple of our legislators and our senators have said that it's worse. It was worse than 9/11.
Yeah.
They said that it was worse than 9/11. That's just bananas to even try to calculate that you would even try to put the math to that. That's insane.
Well, and I was listening to the live happenings via a PBS affiliate. There was like a public radio station and I was just glued to it because the radio host was on the internet streaming, but whoever they were talking to was on the phone. And like, cause their stream was like very cutting in and out because they were in the basement of the building or the downstairs of the building. Didn't have good cell phone reception, but they're like, yeah, it's up. I mean, people are eating food down here. There's no one really in here today. So it's kind of, we're not hearing, there's no shooting. There's just really nothing going on. I was just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Cause the CNN coverage was just like, get to the chopper.
Yeah. Right. Well,
yeah.
And I don't care what happened that day. I don't. And the reason being is that if it was a real insurrection, like any other time in history and any other place in the world, first of all, it would have been armed.
Right.
And second of all, it wouldn't have ended after 2 hours when everyone voluntarily left on their own.
Right.
They left on their own. Nobody forced them out of that building. They all left. They walked around. They went, this is weird. And then they all left. And that's not an insurrection by definition.
Nope.
Like, by definition, they hold the building and they do it armed.
Yep.
That's the definition of an insurrection. None of that happened. And it's turning out that the vast majority of all of even the violence that was going on was actually fed plants that were instigating that, and that the tear gas, and all the videos are now showing that the tear gas and all of it and was shot first, that they fired on the crowd first. And
meanwhile,
so these things are
in Seattle's Summer of Love, not 2 full years prior to that, they appropriated federal buildings and kicked the police out of the precinct on Capitol Hill.
Yes. Like, and one of the city council members was the one with the keys that let them in.
Yeah.
And she's still in office.
And first thing they did was build a wall, and they erected borders around their little territory as they took over. Yeah, 100%.
They sure did. And in fact, I think it was May 16th, prior to January 6th, an entire leftist organization of pro-abortion radicals and Black Lives Matter and Antifa people stormed the very same Capitol and actually took it over, and then started burning the churches around the White House, and they actually had to put Trump in a bunker. But you don't hear about anything at all about that. That was an actual violent insurrection that actually did exactly, if not worse, than what happened on January 6th, but you don't hear about it. So
I'm amazed as I'm starting to kind of pour through the Trump trial stuff at the moment, because every time they throw shit at a wall to see if something will stick, the polling numbers for him just continues to go up. In fact, I think he's the Republican primary margin winner by a great deal, and I don't think he's done a single debate yet at this point.
Not a single debate.
I'm interested to see if he pins a lot of the January 6th stuff on Pence and stuff like that. I don't see how he really can, because he made the speech that day, but I'm trying to figure out what's the political move to try and dissuade all of that. But at this point, I'm not even sure it matters. And that's what I find really, really interesting is it's like, because who do you think the Dems are going to run? I mean, if we're getting real, I don't think they can find a way to let this Biden thing continue. Just the health is deteriorated.
Figure out the way out.
It's Newsom, and it's who else? Because Newsom, like, hey, here's a guy that ran California into the ground. Let's give him the country.
Yeah, and he's got scandal after scandal. He's going to be a hard sell to a lot of people, but
maybe
right now
not as much as you think, because he's articulate, young, good-looking guy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of all you need sometimes.
There's a lot of chatter about Michelle Obama actually running too.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Like, are you furious about the San Francisco streets thing when Xi Jinping shows up and it's just gone? And they asked Newsom about it, and he's like, well, yeah, when you have guests come over, you got to clean up your house. I mean, how pissed would you be as a business owner in downtown San Francisco to be like, you could just do it like that? Just like that.
There was a time where I probably would have had some sympathies towards those people, but continue to do business in San Francisco.
I get that, but as an example, like if I was a Californian just watching even just that, not the quick deterioration of everything else leading up to that, that'd be enough for me to be like, I'm never going to vote for this guy. Ever.
Yeah, but they do anyway.
Also, underreported things.
He beat a recall. Like,
yeah. But yeah. That was what, a year ago?
Yeah.
And
he just triples down on everything. He's like, oh,
there's
coming after me. Guess what?
There's a lot coming out, and I haven't done my research because the internet's forever. So when I make a blanket statement, I got to live with that until the day I die, and I understand it. But I am researching right now that there are reports coming out about the Arizona polling numbers, like being counted, and there's a lot of like open source support for figuring out these ballots that seem to match the names of recently deceased old people in Arizona and stuff like that. It's like, how could they have voted if they were dead? So it makes one wonder, like, how much of these far-fetched, crazy, crunch down your tinfoil hat, we're going to get into some conspiracy stuff. How much of that's actually wildly misrepresented by the modern media? And maybe it was true the whole time. Like, I don't have a definitive point on that yet because I have not looked into the.
Well, besides Arizona, it's going on pretty heavy in Pennsylvania right now too.
Yeah.
Like if you look into Pennsylvania and Michigan, both of those places have now opened up and found out that there was a ton of video and a ton of stuff going on with the machines in both of those areas too. But Arizona specifically, where they said 65% of their precincts weren't working.
Well, let's say that the election was miscounted. Like, what's the protocol in repairing that now that we're at the end of the third year of a president that might not have won the election? I mean,
like a constitutional scholar would still be scratching their head because obviously it's unprecedented.
Right?
Precedented.
That's the piece that's just like, knowing that you and I know quite a bit about this stuff, maybe a touch more than the average Joe and not as much as a constitutional scholar. I think that's what the government absolutely enjoys the most, because no one would really know. So if this is a litmus test, why not just, and say the election did go the other way after all, why not just continue to do this however the hell they want? The machine runs and they just put a figurehead in over and over again, which is more or less how it works now, if you really think about it, the two-party system. But that's frightening. That should frighten a lot more, because then, you could be very jaded if you want and say, well, my vote doesn't matter. But then you'd kind of know, your vote really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That should rub you the wrong way as a citizen.
Absolutely.
100%. No matter what side of the aisle you land on, that should piss you off.
Yeah, and that should piss you off enough to do something about it. Like, there should be people, like, taking to the streets and going, this isn't the process of a republic.
Right.
This isn't the process of what we've been promised. You have obfuscated the entire process for your own gains and means. And we are in charge. You're not. And there should be the largest outcry in human history in this country right now. And
why don't more people talk about this yet?
Because it's scary. It's scary, and a lot of people are too dumb.
Like, well, but even if you're charged up about it, because a lot of people take to the streets for various other reasons.
Oh yeah.
Like, why isn't your basic fundamental the institution and the currency of trust that you have with that institution that comprises constituent and the elected official is completely in jeopardy? This is a hypothetical predicated on what we're talking about. I'm not making prescriptions here. Again, I need to really dig into the research, but let's say all that just comes crumbling down. why is it cool if I'm pissed off about climate change and I'm very upset with the weather 30 years from now? I just know I will be. That I'm going to express myself by dumping blue paint all over an art institution in France, or I'm going to, cement my hand into the cement in Britain, which was hilarious because it was an anti-oil thing. And he's like, right, but this is cooking oil. Like, and then everyone's like, oh shit. So it's like, wasn't even petroleum, asshole. But like, why are people way, way cooler with getting charged up about that, but not the fact that the foundational trust-based relationship you have with your elected officials and the institution that is the mechanism that puts them in that seat could be maybe completely controlled, maybe completely broken? Why aren't people charging out of their house right now? Like, what's scarier about that than cementing your hand to the ground as a protest item for petroleum in Britain?
Yep.
Well, I don't understand how broken the social construct has to be in your mind for that to not be way more important.
And that's the problem, is that we have people who, the Kardashian followers, that is the hot button buzzword topic that they can feel good and virtue signal all over. I can be at this rally that women's rights or this or that, or but when it comes to actually something important like their fundamental rights being chiseled away chunk by chunk, they don't understand it, because they went through an education system that not only shielded them from it, but would actually refuse to allow them to learn about it, and kept them from learning about, because they don't want them to be out there for this type of thing. They want them to be out there for that type of thing. They are controlled masses. And yes, it is hard as somebody who cannot view the world that way to not understand, like, why aren't you storming federal buildings? Why aren't you storming to say, hey, you took my vote? Like, you took my one principled ability to be able to have a say in how this country goes.
That's what I mean. That's the currency we're supposed to have that comprises the trust in this institution. And I could almost, just in a very, human moment, I could almost feel sympathy for the rioters and stuff that I see that are like, the LGBTQ plus community that's screaming, up and down about how to support the victimized Palestinians and stuff like this in the current conflict. I almost have sympathy for the fact that it's like, maybe you just don't know, but that regime, which is sort of a faction of like Iran and friends overall, would kill you for your lifestyle choices. The very ones that you enjoy in this country, it would straight up
gays for Gaza and stuff.
It would kill you.
Idea.
And to me, it's like I almost feel a little sympathetic that it's like you might be being misled, but for those that don't get really charged up and understand the implications of a failed currency to the level of the people that make your laws, that currency is broken. Like, I don't know, man. I think that's a bigger domestic priority right now than, taking to the streets for Hamas as an example, which is absolutely abhorrent what's going on over there. But I don't know. It's like, I know it's been twisted and that's what people want. And it's the hot button and it starts in academia, but
what's going our problems here,
right,
is where we should be focused.
We accidentally fucked up our accounting and sent Ukraine an extra $6 billion.
That's unaccounted for, and they don't know. They've been audited 3 times and they still can't find that money.
Do you know how much the folks right here in America got when Maui burned down? $700 one time. And we're like that. That's stuff that fucking breaks me in half mentally.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with that, but it's just like, how could you be that broken up about something that you probably misinformed on? Because Hamas would kill you for sure, just for who you are. In the same fashion, they want to kill.
The joke is that they can't anymore because there's not enough buildings to throw them off of anymore in Gaza.
Well, but you know, my point though is that they hate you as much as they hate Israel as a nation.
Yeah.
Like they want the eradication of the Jewish people. And there were 4, I think, offers to actually have a land division and a 2-party recognition system. All 4 times the Palestinian state was unilaterally rejected in favor of annihilating the Jewish people.
Yeah.
That's the terms.
You don't hear about that.
You don't hear about this stuff. And it, I don't know, man. It's just like you should focus that much rage on the right stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's way more important to feel that way, to fund the way that we fund, to continue to get involved in stuff while the home nation state is completely crumbling. Humanitarian crisis south of the border. Maui's obliterated. You know, public schools are in shambles. Academia is in shambles in the United States. Infrastructure is crazy. Inflation is crazy. It goes on and on and on. And yet and still, we prioritize our funding, our efforts, and our energy outside.
Yeah. And it's an absolute atrocity and a crime.
Yeah.
We should not, as we are bleeding out from every facet of our institutions in this country, every single one of them, one way or another, is in some form of disrepair, if not completely demolished. But yet we are funding massive wars for a industrial military complex and for fat cats to get fatter, in proxy wars in the Ukraine and over in the East and in other places too. Those are just the 2 that are in the news right now.
Yeah.
But and the amount of money that we are dumping over there for stuff that all of that money should be going to our own infrastructure in any capacity. Bring it back. We should not be involved. We should be shutting our border down, and we should not be involved. And I'm not even necessarily a staunch isolationist either. I think that when we're flush and we're doing good, let's help out.
Right.
Where it's righteous to help out, not just getting involved in whatever conflict, but we have to be very discerning with those conflicts that we get.
And that's why
in the meantime, keep the money here.
Right.
Fix our problems so that we can actually feel comfortable as a society and as a country going, hey, let's pitch them a bone because this is we're good over here. But we're not even close to good, and we're pitching them every bone. And it's a backwards.
It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I've kind of almost actively, I think it's more subconsciously, avoided the Israel-Palestine conversation. I think it warrants its own pod, because you have to think as a human being. I don't think the Hamas group speaks for every single Palestinian alive. Similarly, what's the Israeli prime minister's name again?
Netanyahu.
Yeah, Netanyahu. I don't think he speaks for every, Israeli alive as well.
No.
That said, like you can't ignore the powers that be in the clash that is and the death that it's caused. And why. And I think the and why part is something that probably needs to be unpacked when we have a little more time. But it is gruesome as an American to see the absolute decay of trust on the international stage that dates back to pulling out of Afghanistan and continues to get worse. Through all this funding and misappropriation of funds and, we swear we're going to know how it's being spent. Cash is fungible. And if you cared that hard about, exactly what you just said, then why are we delivering these bags of cash in the back of taxi cabs? Have you seen this? inside of like Samsonite bags and luggage, and there's cash in there.
Yeah.
So like these aren't contracts being signed with, you know, interest rates being applied to them.
Or money wires or transfers of like, here's some, or assets being sent over.
Yeah.
It is literally bags, Samsonite bags of cash.
Which is really, really gross. It was gross watching the 2008 fallout turn into bailouts, because I even said and joked, I was like, there's absolutely nothing written down about how they're going to pay this back. The CEOs are going to bonus themselves out and still go bankrupt. That's exactly what they did. In 48 hours, that's what they did. And it was disgusting to see that. But I don't know, dude. I really don't like when people get charged up about stuff that ultimately is not the most impactful threat to your comfort, to your, you know, freedoms, to your way of life.
A whole other pod we could do on the fact that all of this stuff is.
I think we should.
Hey, look over here. This is the distraction. Look at the wars.
Art of misdirection. Wars. Yeah.
Yep. So that way, what they're doing behind the scenes over here in our own country, while we're all focused over there.
Right.
And yeah, it's the game plan. You need to just roll it out over and over again. It's all just chickens running wherever they point us.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, should I say, yeah, turkeys. Sorry. Like turkeys. Yeah.
Now,
speaking of which, I'm smoking a turkey.
Good. I'd love for you to tell me the method you're using to do it too, because the cook bay in mine, the smoking side, is not as big as the one that you have. And so I don't think I could do a whole turkey. I might, if I took the top shelf out, I might be able to squeeze it in there. But I don't know if you need a lot of room to breathe. Like a roast is pretty perfect sized, right? So let me know how that goes. Because you going to slow smoke it, or is it like a high heat cook for the turkey? Because that's a big bird.
It is. And
probably an overnighter, huh?
I'm going to brine it.
Yeah.
According to and I've only looked into it a little bit, but it apparently it only takes 4 to 5 hours to do a full turkey.
Cool.
But I might slow smoke it and start earlier, depending on if a slow smoke is like 15 hours, then I'll maybe go with the 4 or 5 one. But if it's like 7 hours or 8 hours, I can start it in the morning and have it right by the time people show up. So.
Yeah, because I did a overnight, it was a brisket, and that was a good 16-pound piece of meat, something like that. So it was a pretty big brisket. Yeah. It was our first go at it and stuff. My buddy Paul was down, and we were just working it out. Like, fuck it, why not? It's cheap. We'll try it out. No, it was not amazing, but it was good. And it was like, okay, we know what we're doing. We just need to do this a few times to get it right. But a bigger cook, yeah, I would imagine that would be like you said, if it's 8 hours, start in the morning early. If it's longer than that, maybe the night before. But yeah.
A question for you.
Yeah.
How do I get more smoke out of it? Like it's smoking, but it's not giving me a good thick roll. What's the proper way to do that?
It ebbs and flows. Some of it is the fuel that you're using, and a lot of it has to do with those circular metal cutouts that are the back vents to let the bottom of the tube breathe out. Yeah. There's like little holes in it. You can actually cover a couple of those. I wouldn't use anything that would get hot and melt or whatever, but like you could probably tack up some foil on 2 out of 3 of those. Otherwise, using a different brand of fuel material, like different pellets, is a decent start. And the other thing you could do is if you put, those metal, like every restaurant on earth has them, and you put like stuff for a hot or a cold bar. They're like squares. What's the word I'm looking for? Not a
risers.
Kinda, yeah. And you could put like a bunch of gravy in there, and you could put a bunch of ranch dressing in the next one, and it goes into a cold bar, and they're all square. They're like metal.
Yeah.
Get one of those and fill it with either some water and soak a bunch of actual pieces of like wood chips or like a mesquite wood or something like that, and put it in the corner of and let the water evaporate off and let the extra smoke off of that come out. And then they also have smoke, like how to add more smoke to your smoker. It's designed for this, like little pellets that you basically open a separate burn pot and it's real small and you stick it in the corner and it can add to it. But I think if you cover the breather holes and just moderate it a little bit,
because it's not giving me smoke, but I just want more.
Right. And sometimes it works great, sometimes not so much. When it's hot out, I notice I don't get as good a smoke as when it starts to get cold. And then it really smolders, and that just has to do with the pressure inside and outside from the temperature difference. But yeah, I would try a couple things. Start with covering the holes and maybe try a different pellet or something. But yeah, otherwise you could take more extreme measures.
I'm gonna go grab a bag of pellets tomorrow anyway, and then
I've used them all. There's Pit Boss pellets, there's Traeger pellets, there's off-brand pellets. I like to find the ones that are like comp blend pellets, or one at, I think it was Lowe's or Home Depot, they sold was a bourbon, like hickory bourbon pellet, and it was the best ever. I mixed it with cherry wood pellets. Oh, it was the best red meat I'd ever had. I don't know about a turkey, but yeah. Applewood might be really good with your turkey, to be fair.
I think that's a good idea.
Applewood would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, try it out.
All right, man. Well, you got anything else for today?
No, just to say happy holidays to everyone listening and those watching or lurking. I promise I'm not going to be around for next week's show unless we do it exactly at Tuesday. On a regularly scheduled time. If it fades one way or the other, I'm going to be busy. So if we land this bird next Tuesday, we'll be here. Otherwise, it's going to get nutty because there's a lot going on, and it's the holidays. So happy holidays! It's
happy holidays.
We don't mean to leave you in the lurch for weeks and weeks, but it's just been brutal on schedules.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, I should be good for Tuesday. So let's tentatively plan for it.
Tentatively plan. Tomorrow I take a flight. That's why we didn't do this at our regular scheduled time, but generally we will.
So, okay, man. Well, yeah, happy holidays to everybody.
Heck yeah.
Happy holidays to you. Safe travels.
Thank
Say
you.
hi to Aaron for me.
I will.
And we'll move right along.
Sounds good.
Hopefully we'll chat about how much bird we ate next Tuesday.
Sounds good. All right, friends.
Alrighty.
We'll talk again soon.